Good afternoon, everybody. Kelsey Florick here with Caring Transitions, coming to you live from my backyard because it's beautiful out, so why not? Hopefully the phone that I'm using doesn't fall off my patio furniture at some point. Well, welcome to my live. We're going to be talking today about some tips on the entire move and downsizing process for an older adult in your family, maybe a mom, dad, aunt. It's, kind of an exciting time given that the stay-at-home order has been basically lifted. So a lot of businesses are going to be coming back and better than ever, including mine, hopefully. We've been sort of on hold, but taking projects on a case-by-case basis, and we're going to be able to be taking on a lot more, and we're in a position to get back to helping families and just taking the necessary precautions to be safe. I think that what I want to do today is kind of walk you through some of the nuances that my company does for our clients, because this is something that we do all the time in terms of downsizing and moving people. So some of those tips, and then, just kind of talk through what the process looks like in general. I'll tell you a little bit more about my company. This is not the first live that we've done, so you might already know, but we help older adults and their families downsize, relocate, and liquidate. So we kind of walk people through a timeline, and we take a lot of the legwork off of the table for them. So we actually do the moving, the packing, the liquidating, the donating. We kind of take all of that on for our clients to try and help minimize stress for them in the process. I know a lot of people have been on quarantine, so maybe their parents were kind of confined to their homes and not able to have a lot of visitors the last few months. And that might have been, kind of eye-opening in terms of their safety or your comfort with their current living situation. So you might already be thinking that you need to start exploring different options for living situations for your parents or another older adult in your family that you feel somewhat responsible for. And now that we're able to kind of get back to somewhat normally functioning as a state, that might be an option for you to start exploring different living situations and arrangements for your family members. So obviously there's a lot that goes into that. It can be immediately overwhelming, not just for the senior, but also for their families too. I have never had one client that wasn't super stressed out. So just by the sheer, mass of what the project entails and something like this entails, which is totally understandable. So let's talk about kind of what goes into it and some of the tips that we do for clients that help us deliver for them and get them through it, somewhat more smoothly than they might have by just taking it on themselves or just kind of winging it. So, obviously there's different factors involved. Financial planning is one of them. Figuring out where someone is going to move is another. The actual space planning and moving and packing and unpacking, liquidating, clearing out your prior living space. There's a lot that kind of goes into it. My company takes on a lot of those services, but we don't take on all of them, which is why Navigate Home has other resources as well, including a realtor that can talk to you about selling your home and those, best practices, and then also a placement specialist, Kim Russell, who, helps people figure out what their next living situation is going to be. And a lot of times that might be assisted or independent living or something like that. Obviously, something like this involves a lot of project management. So what that means is just figuring out a timeline and what the steps are going to be in that timeline. So I think the reason people get overwhelmed is because they feel like they have to do everything at once, whether it's packing and liquidating, donating, all of it they see in their mind as needing to be done within a matter of days, which is, never the case. There's usually more time to work with, and on top of that, it's steps. Like, we look at every project as a step-by-step process. So, if we're going to a client's to help them pack, then that is the focus for that day, packing. And then the next step in the process might be the move and getting them unpacked, and then the next step might be liquidating or donating. And the steps are always fluid. There's not a perfect system. Everyone has a different situation and a different timeline. So it's just kind of understanding what you're working with in terms of when you need to be in somewhere new, when you need to be out of your old place, and then kind of working back through that. We do space planning with our clients, and that has been a huge benefit to everyone. I think a lot of times people are very organized and detailed and already know and have mapped out exactly what furniture that they want to bring with them. But most people are not that detailed, and they might have an idea in their mind of the furniture they want to bring, but it might be too much for the space. So it's always a great jumping off point with my clients to do space planning with them. So what that means is I will go to their new apartment and measure it. I will map out their whole new living arrangement in my space planning software. I'll go to their house, I'll measure the furniture that they're looking at taking, and then I'll pull it into the system. So what that means is I will be kind of playing around with the furniture to decide where we think it's going to fit, where it's going to fit best, and if anything looks like it's overcrowding the space. And I do all this with my clients right next to me, so it really gives them an idea, and they feel like they're a huge part of the process. Guys, my phone's getting a little warm, so I'm nervous. Hopefully it doesn't drop off on me. But anyway, so they feel like they're completely involved and engaged in the process. And by the time we're done, we not only know what furniture is going, we know exactly where it's going to go. So it makes moving day a lot easier, and it also helps figure out what storage-based furniture you're bringing. So once we start making plans for what to pack and what to bring, that really kind of helps narrow down like the smaller things in the process. So the other aspect is obviously like the move and moving day. We try and plan to do packing 1 to 2 days ahead of the move, depending on how big the new space is. And one thing that my team does to really try and translate their new space into being like their old, reminding them of their old home, is we'll take pictures of the current space that they're living in, even if it's like a curio cabinet, how is that set up? And then when we're there unpacking, we will try and replicate that as much as possible in terms of pictures that we're hanging, decor, things like that. So when they walk in, they don't feel like it's a completely new space. Like there's still those elements of home that they were used to, because some people have been in their home for a number of years, 40, 50, 60, I've heard it all. So it's really tough for them to let go of those little details. We also obviously deal with downsizing, liquidating, donating, all of that. What we tell people is to kind of focus on what they need or what they love in the process, and not really spending too much time focusing on what they're losing. That's where you can start to second guess and get really stressed out and overwhelmed or even sad. And it's important to stay focused on what's good, what's coming, why the move is a good decision, whether it's being closer to family, or maybe it's, being exposed to more social life. But we do always want to make sure that we're bringing what our clients really love. So that might mean, getting somewhat strategic with other furniture, or that might mean just packing up some things that maybe they don't need, but if they can really narrow down what they love, it's important that they have that. So that's kind of what we work through when we're making those smaller decisions. And a lot of times we'll have clients there with us on packing day, just completely, walking us through what they want, and we'll be working with them hand in hand that day. Other times clients just want us to make decisions for them. So everyone's, different, but even still we're looking for some guidance, because we want to make sure that they have what they need. In terms of the actual liquidating and clearing out piece, there's a lot of different elements that go into it. Someone might already have in mind that they want to sell their things or that they want to donate them, But if you're looking at doing a sale, then we have to kind of factor in inventory and value and interest in terms of the resale market. Is it going to be enough? Is it going to offset the costs that go into that? So there is a lot of factors. Timing is also one. An estate sale can usually be turned around in about a week, depending on when someone can get it on the schedule. We do online auctions. Those can also, be a little bit longer, more of like a 2-3 week turnaround. So it really depends on like what time constraints we have and what we're working with. So a family might not need us. They might just want to donate what they have, and they feel comfortable doing that. Other times people might just look to us for some guidance on what we think makes sense. So resettlement, we already kind of talked about mirroring the setup of the home. I do want to point out, and I already kind of got off topic of the moving day, but one thing I've noticed with moving our clients is that typically if they're not there for the chaos of the move, and they kind of find something fun or spend time with family that day, typically when they come and see their space and it's set up and already decorated, like we get a lot more enthusiasm from those clients because they haven't had to live through the stress of it. So to them, it's just a huge relief to have spent like a nice day with family or friends and come see their new space and realize that everything's set up for them, and everything's already decorated for them and good to go. That's a huge, like, exciting moment for them. Like, their space is there, they can already start using it. So I try and guide clients to do that as well if they feel comfortable. Some people want to be involved in the process, and that's fine. I just, they need to know that it can be a little stressful. There's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot going on that day. So just kind of mentally prepare for that. I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I just wanted to give kind of a general overview of different steps of the process. But I do want to say that obviously moving later in life is a huge deal. Moving in general is stressful for anyone. I'm going to be facing one myself pretty soon here. And I gotta say, it's definitely stressful, but that's normal. And I think it's important that everyone involved, whether it's family, friends, or if you're hiring vendors like a company like myself to help you, really understands and is empathetic to that, because a part of what we do is, just listen and we let clients vent, and we're kind of just an ear for them if they are getting stressed out. But that is absolutely a part of the process. Like, you're never going to get around that. So I think what we try and really do is reward our clients with a lot of control in the process, whether it's taking that extra item that maybe they don't need but they love, those sorts of things. It's important to feel like these are all decisions that they're making, because a lot of times it might be a situation where they don't really want to move, so they already kind of feel like things are out of their control. But at the end of the day, our client is an older adult and they're in complete control of what they want and what happens, to their things. So we don't say no. We always try and work with people, and I think that's the best way to kind of move people forward in the process. Like, we draw some lines when it comes to safety, obviously, because we don't want people to have too many things and not have room to navigate in their space, but it's just important to realize that the senior that's actually making the move needs to have some say in the process, and that's something that we always try and make a huge priority. It's an opportunity to spend some time with family, talk through things that you love, why you love them. If there's anything that you want to give to family during this process, it's a great time to do it. You can explain why you want to give it to them, why it's important to you, and just, focus on sharing that time with them and enjoying it, and again, looking forward to what's coming next. And also just not being afraid to ask for help. There's a lot of people who have, a huge support system when it comes to family or friends. But sometimes those family and friends can have their own things going on too, their own families. They might be not local, they might be out of state. So that's where, the vendor, like the resources companies like myself come into play, who, kind of try and be like a plug-in, makeshift family support for that period of time. To help people feel comfortable and get where they need to go, and be overall positive and happy with the results. But, even with my team, we take everything in small steps, and we mentioned that earlier, not feeling like it all needs to be done at once. So I think, again, it's important to remember that it can't all be done in a day, and there's always a way, and there's always, a way to move forward in the process. Sometimes people get in binds where maybe they are coming out of rehab and they can't go home, and the time constraints are a lot more, intense than we're used to working with, but we're always able to get through every situation. That's why it's important to have a team of people kind of looking out for you and having your back. Like, it can always be done. So I'm around, obviously, if anyone has any questions. I think there might be one right now. What is the best first step in starting to let go, even if it's just getting through the closets, basements, storage place that have not been open for years? Yeah, if someone's kind of starting to be proactive in their decluttering and downsizing before they even, get to that huge overhaul of, okay, now it's time to get everything done and we have to make the move. Kim, that's a great point. Starting in those, behind like closed doors areas like closets, basements, garages, because that's where our accumulation always forms, because people don't frequent those areas. So it's easy to turn them into storage space. So if you want to tackle and really get a lot done, those are the spots where you can kind of really see some progress. And it's also, going to be very eye-opening to you what you've been using, what you've been going into those spaces to pull from. And it helps you kind of make those tough decisions of, I have these boxes, none of them have been opened in a year. Do I really need these things? So it can kind of make it a little bit clearer for you. And again, it helps you kind of figure out a small plan of, maybe I'll tackle this closet today or this area of the basement, so that you don't have to get everything done at once, because it can be very overwhelming. A lot of people tend to accumulate a lot over a number of years. I mean, I've been in my house for about 5 years, and we've had a lot of accumulation then. So when you're talking about 20, 30, 40 years, you're going to see a lot of accumulation. That's just the norm. Most people are not in that minimalist mindset. So that's absolutely an option. So I am going to include my contact information in the comments. So if anyone wants to reach out, get guidance on a situation that maybe they're facing with a parent or an older adult family member in their home, they can always reach out to me. We do free in-home consultations, and my goal for those is just to give people more information than they had when before I got there. So even if we don't end up working together as like a client relationship, then they are still coming out of it with some more information and some options. Thank you guys for listening today. Hope everyone's doing well and gets to get outside and enjoy the sun. I'm gonna put my contact information down here, and then I'm gonna log off. Thanks.